just get this set up. Oh, it's gonna be about right here. Okay, fuck yeah. Oh, make sure you're actually recording. Oh, we are. Wonderful. Oh, hush, 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 hush. Damn, I sound like ass. It's my phone microphone. Okay, let's get this popped out. I'm literally gonna be watching this guy as I stream. So.
On top of this box. Okay, we need that.
Alright, okay. This is everything. My new headset's gonna be coming in later. Oh, so here's the motherboard. I'm gonna go ahead and put on record. I got no fucking clue what I'm doing. But hey, we're in this together. Oh my god, this thing is gorgeous. Got a lot of unboxing to do in this one. Man. Oh man. Let's this. Screwdriver, bro. I'm gonna try to speak up because I know that I'm literally just going to turn this fan off. But that'll help a little bit with the noise. Oh! I found this knife on the run when I ran with my dogs. Just sitting in the dirt. It's a nice knife to go there. Kind of crazy. That's a lot of there. Suction up. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. I don't even know where to fucking start. Alright, make sure I set this in the group so people actually know to come fucking help. Copy link. Did it work? We got copy link? I do think we are. Fuck it up. Okay. Okay. Alright. Excuse me. this is a little intimidating. Oh. Let's, first things first, let's get this out of the package. I know the next thing that we gotta do is put this guy in. Let's get this out of the package first. So fucking scared of me. I'm gonna fuck something up. Oh my lord, this thing's. Oh, this thing looks so good. What the fuck? What the fuck? Mm. That's great. This plastic off.
And free static safe circuits. If you want to power off the system before you put it in the case, which I highly recommend, you'll want to use SOC. It saves double duty by letting you slot in a GPU, which wouldn't be possible if the motherboard was run on a desk or anti-static mat. Now, your motherboard may have one of two types of sockets as of today. A pin grid array, or PGA, where the pins are on the CPU, or a land grid array, or LGA, where the pins are on the motherboard. Why is this important? Because if your motherboard is LGA, you need to inspect the pins before you do anything else. If you bought the board at a brick and mortar store, then they'll often get you to do this step at the store to cover their butts in case you come back with bent pins, because this is something that's typically not covered by the manufacturer's warranty. To do this on an Intel socket, push down on the retention latch and pull it out away from the socket. If you're dealing with a high-end desktop socket, there could be a secondary latch for the retention mechanism that comes out the same way, and they'll only open in the correct order. When you ease up on the clip, it should want to spring upwards. This is good. Pull it upwards all the way, and the retention clip will come up, revealing the socket beneath. Don't worry about the plastic cover plate for now.
For AMD Threadripper and EPIC SD3 derived sockets, you'll need to undo these three screws.
Can't even open the fucking thing.
Torque wrench, and then let the retention clip flip open. The CPU's carrier will need to come up next, which you can easily do by pulling up on these tabs. Finally, remove the plastic cover plate to reveal the socket beneath. For Intel's high-end server and workstation Xeon motherboards using LGA 3647, the socket is only covered by the plastic cover plate. The cooler screws down directly to
I don't have any of
with the
this.
pins
I don't have a
visible,
cover
it's easy to
plate.
spot damage if you angle the motherboard so the
Nothing.
pins are reflecting light directed back at you, and rotate it around to make sure that everything looks even. Any pins that are bent will need to be dealt with before you go further.
Come
For
on.
this video we did on LGA repair here, but the short version is you may need to use a magnifying glass and a pair of fine point tweezers or similar instrument to try and straighten it back out.
Fresh want to keep it for future in case you need to RMA or sell your CPU to something else. Regardless of your CPU, you want to avoid type.
That was so recording is scary. Like you hop off of it on my phone. Just pause this. God, y'all can barely hear me, can't you? I'm gonna bring it down just a little. I'm gonna keep it there. I'm gonna keep it there.
Touching any of the exposed gold contacts, be they on the flat underside of an LGA CPU or the fragile pins of a PGA CPU. We'll get to those, but first we're going to keep going with consumer-style LGA. Line your CPU up with the socket. Usually there will be a triangular arrow or dot or other indicator to help you figure out which orientation is correct. Intel, for instance, has notches on the side of its CPUs that only allow you to insert a compatible CPU and only in the correct orientation, so you can line up with those. I like to line up the bottom edge of the CPU with the bottom edge of the socket as a bit of an anchor point, then gently lower it in. Give it a little wiggle once once it's down to make sure it's seated completely.
Zero indication of
Closing the
which way it's
retention
supposed to go.
mechanism and pushing the latch down. If it feels a little stiff and creaky, that's okay. It's supposed to. And then the plastic socket cover is going to kind of pop off. That's normal too. Keep going until you can put the latch back into place, then store the socket cover somewhere safe, like in your motherboard box. You'll need this in case you need to RMA your board or sell it later on. If your CPU is PGA, take this time to make sure that your pins are all straight.
That boy's
It
in.
should be as easy as looking at it from 2 different angles to make sure that you can see through straight rows of pins. If any of them are bent, your best bet is to use a mechanical pencil or a very thin piece of metal like a razor or an iFixit Jimmy opening tool to gently nudge them back into position. Too much force though, or too much back and forth, and these can easily snap off, making for a very difficult repair job. So make sure you have steady hands. Once you're satisfied, lift the locking arm and line the CPU up just as we did with LGA, using the indicator on the CPU and the socket
That's
to
what we have.
determine the correct orientation. On PGA CPUs, you can also just have a look at the pins and the holes in the socket. Typically, the pins are arranged so that there's a corner with fewer pins so that it can only drop in one way. And it will drop right in. So if you encounter any resistance at all, do not push.
Oh my
Check your
gosh.
pins, line it up, and try again. A few more seconds of your time now is worth it compared to hours for totally matched pins. Once the
Ooh.
CPU is in place, I like to press down on it to prevent it from moving while I close the lever.
If you're a high roller and you've got a more exotic socket, you'll be surprised to learn that it's actually pretty easy, despite how complicated it looks. Before you begin, some high-end motherboards have support for dual CPUs. These are usually EPYC or Xeon. If that's what you're building and you only have one CPU, you'll need to consult your motherboard's manual for which socket to use and which RAM slots are connected to said socket. If you have two, then just double up on the CPU installation instructions. Trust me, it's exactly as fun as it sounds. For AMD SP3-based sockets, remove the plastic dummy CPU from the carrier arm, then graft the CPU's plastic
That's
tabs
what
and
this
gently
thermal
guide it
piece
into the
though.
carrier rails. It helps to pull back a little bit on the tab while you do so in order to make sure the CPU stays aligned with the top of the arm. You'll know what I'm talking about if you end up slipping. Once it's almost all the way in, it'll stop moving freely, and you'll need to push it down another notch before you're ready to start closing things up. Lower the carrier arm to the socket until you can't move it freely any further. If you guess we need to push it a little more, you're right. Each corner clicks into place, and with that done, all that's left is to close the retention mechanism. If you're using the screwdriver that came with the CPU, this is easy. Take note of the close order and screw in the screws in that order. It misalign it unless something goes very, very wrong. The way this plays out is like so. You have your CPU, cooler, motherboard, and plastic CPU carrier. The CPU snaps into the carrier by lining up a golden triangle on one corner of the CPU with a triangle cutout on the carrier itself, then angling it in like so. You might need to bend the carrier a little to make it snap together, but once you do, it'll be a firm hold. Then after applying thermal compound, more on that soon, align the triangle, then angle and truck group up onto the feet. Be simple too. It's an intimidating looking mechanism at first, but in fact it's so simple that you aren't even supposed to install the CPU into it. Wait, what? Yeah, you install the CPU onto the cooler itself first, and then the cooler is the carrier that lines the CPU up onto the socket, which thanks to this pattern of screw holes and posts, means you can't really misalign it unless something goes very,
There's so many
very
plugs
wrong.
on this thing and I have
The way this
no
plays
idea
out is
what
like
goes
so.
into them.
You have your CPU, cooler, motherboard, and plastic CPU carrier. The CPU snaps into the carrier by lining up a golden triangle on one corner of the CPU with a triangle cutout on the carrier itself, then angling it in like so. You might need to bend the carrier a little to make it snap together, but once you do, it'll be a firm hold. Then after applying thermal compound, more on that soon, align the triangular cutout of the CPU carrier with the heatsink. Clip it into place. It doesn't matter which orientation you use, but if you're using a liquid cooler, you'll want to pay attention to which side the tubes will be coming from to align with the socket. Once you're ready, line up the triangle on the CPU carrier with the triangle on the motherboard socket and place it down. The posts automatically align everything for you, so all you have to do here is tighten the torque screws until they stop.
We'll come back to the cooler in a moment. First, we want to deal with RAM, because depending on your cooler, it could be anywhere from a little bit to a lot easier to install it now rather than later. Unbox your RAM and lay it out in front of you. Depending on your motherboard and your priorities, you might have anywhere from 1 stick to 12 or 16 sticks of memory, or even more.
Just
The
to
ultimate authority for which slots to use will be your motherboard manufacturer, so check your manual to be sure. You never know when some engineer is going to get a fun new idea for how things are supposed to be color-coded. But we'll go over the most common configurations anyway. If you look at your motherboard closely, you'll usually see silkscreen labels for the memory channels. On ASUS, for example, DIMM A1, DIMM B1, DIMM A2, and so on. The letter here indicates which channel the slot is connected to. So, 2 sticks in dual channel, you install each module in the same numbered slot, one in channel A and the second in channel B, dual channel. Now, we've mentioned before that dual channel operation is usually best for consumer PCs.
They put an
But
A2 and
if
B
your motherboard
to
only has
first.
2 RAM slots, you might have opted for a single large stick today so that you've got room to upgrade later, rather than 2 smaller sticks adding up to the same capacity that will need to be discarded. This is a valid strategy, and if that's you, then you should install your memory module in the slot that is
This is
nearest
so
to the
cool.
If that sounds weird to veteran builders, that's because they're used to dual channel configurations with 2 sticks of RAM. Usually, unless you're filling out all the slots, you should leave the slots closest to the CPU empty in order to improve the stability of the system at higher speeds. This is because the farthest slots from each channel are where the channel itself ends. When you have something in the near slot, but the far slot is empty, signals can reflect off of the empty slot and mess things up in fun and unpredictable ways. The same principle applies to triple and quad channel setups. They're just usually that many
thought I
more
just
RAM
broke that.
slots. Although
Oh
the
my
exact
gosh, my
layout
parents
can
are supposed
change
to
from
do
board
that.
to board,
Good
so for
God,
these
that
setups,
gave me a
it's
heart
almost
attack.
always best to RTFF. Multiple CPUs get weirder still, with 2 entire rows of memory slots with potentially opposite channel arrangements due to the orientation of the CPU. Again, in this scenario, RTFM. Do not skimp on RTFM. Do it.
Are you still with me? Good. Here's how you actually install memory. First, push
That
down the
didn't feel like
tabs
it's
in the
going in
slot
very
that you're
easily.
installing the memory into. Some boards will have 2 tabs, one on each end, while others will have just one, which
Okay, so
make things a
let's
little
just
bit
go this
easier
way.
if you have a
God,
processor
this is
on one graphics card.
I'm scared. I'm gonna put it in.
Look at
It's
the
just gonna go
pins on the memory
sideways,
module
break right
itself.
off.
There will be at least one notch, as shown here with DDR4 memory. This is offset from the middle of the module, and there's a matching post in the slot itself so that it can only go in one way. Pull up the module so the notch is aligned with the post. Then, line up the module with the grooves on the slot, getting one lined up at a time is often easiest, and push down until you feel resistance. At that point, press a little harder until the tab or tabs lock back into place on their own. You should hear a distinct click if it's done correctly. Then repeat these steps for any more memory modules that you have to install. Here's a pro tip, by the way. You can skip figuring out subsequent modules' orientations by looking for the label side of the stick you already installed and matching against that instead. Keep in mind though, for some motherboards with RAM on both sides of the CPU socket, one side will often be flipped.
If your build has an M.2 SSD,
So it wasn't
now's
really
the
a
time to
click,
install. It's
but
pretty common for the slots to be hidden under heat sinks,
Okay.
so if you don't see any, you'll want to check your motherboard manual to figure out where these slots might be hiding. Some M.2 slots only support NVMe, while some only support SATA, and some support both. Your motherboard manual, again, will help you to identify them. So if your SSD is SATA, you should purposely avoid an NVMe slot that's labeled as going to your CPU to leave it open for a faster NVMe SSD later on down the road. But it really shouldn't matter as long as the slot supports SATA. On the flip side, if your SSD is NVMe, you should avoid slots labeled as going through the chipset or PCH, because these could bottleneck the drive's performance compared to a CPU-connected slot. If you have multiple NVMe SSDs and don't really have a choice, you'll want to use the CPU M.2
Okay,
slot
got
or
my hand.
faster SSD if applicable. Thankfully, because M.2 slots have the same installation instructions regardless, you don't need to take any of that into consideration when it's time to actually put it together. Remove the heatsink from your motherboard if applicable, and for the love of all that's good, take off the protective film on the thermal pad now, so you don't forget. Next, make sure that
we need to rewind a little bit. I missed some stuff.
Under eBuild has an
On both sides of the stick and matching against that instead. Keep in mind though, for some motherboards with RAM on both sides of the CPU socket, one side will often be flipped.
If your build has an M.2 SSD, now's the time to install it. It's pretty common for the slots to be hidden under heat sinks, so if you don't see any, you'll want to check your motherboard manual to figure out where these slots might be hiding. Some M.2 slots only support NVMe, while some only support SATA, and some support both. Your motherboard manual, again, will help you to identify them. So if your SSD is SATA, you should purposely avoid an NVMe slot that's labeled as going to your
That
CPU
chunky
to
shit.
keep it open for a faster NVMe SSD later on down the road. But it really shouldn't matter as long as the slot supports SATA. On the flip side, if your SSD is NVMe, you should avoid slots labeled as going through the chipset or PCH, because these could bottleneck the drive's performance compared to a CPU-connected slot. Installation instructions regardless. You don't need to take any of that into consideration when it's time to actually put it together. Remove the heatsink from your motherboard if applicable, and for the love of all that's good, take off the protective film on the thermal pad now, so you don't forget. Next, make sure that the standoff is in the appropriate position. Most M.2 SSDs use the 80mm long 2280 position. It may already be installed here, and if so, it may also have a very small Phillips screw inserted into it.
Steve's
You'll need to
speaking
remove that
straight
Phillips screw before
gibberish
going
right
any
now.
further. If so, push off the protective pneumatic. You shouldn't do. SSD might be hot. It's not 2 SSD. Now's the time to install it. It's
Here's
pretty
my
common for the
SSD.
slots to be hidden under heat sinks, so if you don't see any, you'll want to check your motherboard manual to figure out where these slots might be hiding. Some M.2 slots only support NVMe, while some only support SATA, and some support both. Your motherboard manual, again, will help you to identify them. So if your SSD is SATA, you should purposely avoid an NVMe slot that's labeled as going to your CPU to leave it open for a faster NVMe SSD later on down the road. But it really shouldn't matter as long as the slot supports SATA. On the flip side, if your SSD is NVMe, you should avoid slots labeled as going through the chipset or PCH, because these could bottleneck the drive's performance compared to a CPU-connected slot. If you have multiple NVMe SSDs and don't really have a choice, you'll want to use the CPU M.2 slot for the faster SSD if applicable. Thankfully, because M.2 slots have the same installation instructions regardless, you don't need to take any of that into consideration when it's time to actually put it together. Remove the heatsink from your motherboard if applicable, and for the love of all that's good, take off the protective film on the thermal pad now, so you don't forget. Next, make sure that the standoff is in the appropriate position. Most M.2 SSDs use the 80mm long 2280 position. It may already be installed here, and if so, it may also have a very small Phillips screw inserted into it. You'll need to remove that Phillips screw before going any further, if so, but if you don't have a standoff at all, you'll have to find it in your motherboard box. Usually it's in a little baggie along with the tiny Phillips screw. Bring it from its prison, twist it into place on the 2280 position, and you're up to speed. Visually line up the SSD's pin side with the slot, taking note of the notch that's cut into it. This should line up perfectly with a tab on the M.2 slot, and typically results in the SSD's label facing out. It's okay if your SSD has 2 notches, but your slot only has 1. This keying means that the SSD is either SATA or supports 2 PCI Express lanes rather than 4. A special note for if your SSD has its own heatsink, the connector side will almost always be on the bottom of the heatsink, with the pins facing outwards. If your motherboard has a heatsink for this slot, you might want to remove the heatsink from your SSD now in order to use that instead. There's usually some clips on the sides that you can just prise apart to release it. There will be a gummy thermal pad on the inside that sticks to it, but no one I'm aware of glues these together, so it shouldn't be a big deal to peel it free.
Alright, enough foreplay already. Angle the SSD by about 30 degrees or so relative to the slot and line it up. It should slip in easily with a little bit of pressure, and once you can no longer see the pins, it should stand up freely on its own. From here, it's easier if you get the tiny Phillips screw on the tip of a magnetic screwdriver before going any further, because you'll need to push the SSD down flat against the standoff we installed earlier and hold it there while you screw it into place. Now you want to be careful with this screw. It's very thin, very fragile, and very easy to misplace. Also offends easily. Line it up,
It also
twist it
offends easily.
counterclockwise until you feel a little click, then start turning it clockwise to tighten it. It only needs to be snug enough that the SSD no longer moves when you let go. Now you can put your motherboard heatsink back on, if applicable. Now there are other ways to install an M.2 SSD, including on a PCI Express card or ASUS
Not us.
D.2 interface. And these are
Not
conceptually
us.
similar to connecting directly to the motherboard, with the exception of how they slot in. DIMM.2 installation is identical to standard RAM modules. Open the tab, line up the key notches with the slot, then align yourself with the vertical posts, push down, and click in place.
Does not
The PCI Express
apply.
card is the same as any other expansion card, and we'll take care of that later.
For now, it's time to move on to your cooler. If you've got an all-in-one liquid cooler, this step is pretty different. For air, it's by far one of the easiest for consumer processors. No matter what socket, it consists of 2 pieces of metal with screw-down posts on the top side and screwed into a backplate. There are spacers fitted to make sure the all-in-one liquid cooler.
Click notches with the slot, then align yourself with the vertical posts, push down, and click into place. The PCI Express card is the same as any other expansion card, and we'll take care of that later.
For now, it's time to move on to your cooler. If you've got an all-in-one liquid cooler, this step will be just installing the appropriate bracket. But if you have an air cooler or a CPU block, custom, both of these will be installed now.
Oh, good.
Most coolers use similar mounting mechanisms in theory, but often the actual install will be pretty different. For air coolers, Noctua's SentiPerm system is by far one of the easiest for consumer processors. No matter what socket, it consists of 2 pieces of metal with screw-down posts on the top side and screwed to a backplate. There are spacers fitted to make sure the vertical alignment with the socket is just right for optimal mounting pressure, And the cooler itself screws down into these screw posts right here for a secure connection. Let's see what that looks like in practice. On Intel consumer systems,
I don't think we
Knox
have to worry
provides a
about what
backplate
they're
since
talking
that
about.
socket actually lacks one out of the box. So instead of screws going down into it, the backplate has posts that stick up through 4 holes in the motherboard, along with a little notch that allows it to clear the retention bolt on the lower side of the socket. Spacers are added per the instruction manual, double check the color, and then the appropriate bars are put on top. Now because Intel's
the
cooler
fuck?
dimensions are symmetrical, that means they can go in either orientation depending on how you
How
want
the
your
fuck was
air
this
to
box put
face.
together? It's like
In most
there's no
situations,
opening on
you
the
want your
side.
cooler
It's
to
just
blow air towards
there's opening
the
on
rear of the chassis.
these
So
sides.
we install these bars
How the
laterally.
fuck does this
Then
open?
screw them down with these reverse thumb screws. On AMD,
Am I retarded?
because that
What in
plate
the
is
world?
included, the spacers
Ah,
fit
here it is.
over the parts of the back
Here it
plate
is. I
stick up
am
through
back
the
in my
motherboard.
brain city
The
wasn't.
first order of business is to remove these plastic clip adapters that come standard on AMD boards. Make sure you keep those, by the way, because some coolers do require them, and losing them is pretty bad for resale value. Then your mounting bars go on and get screwed down in the same way. Now because AMD's cooler holes are asymmetrical, there are 2 sets of mounting bars, one long and one short. The short bars are what most people will use, as these are installed laterally so the cooler can exhaust air towards the rear
Oh
of the case.
god, what
Once
is all
it's screwed into place,
this?
you're ready to go.
Holy
Intel's LGA
shit.
2011 and 2066 sockets are a little more straightforward. Simply screw in the 4 nuts, slot the mounting bars over them in the orientation you prefer, and tighten them down with reverse thumb screws, similar to LGA 115X or LGA 1200. Finally, Threadripper and Epic sockets are simpler still. The cooler just bolts down straight onto the socket's under tension mechanism. Because of the socket design, the cooler can only go on one way, so make sure to align it properly. One side is spaced narrow, and the other side spaced wide. But that mechanism is so simple that we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need thermal compound first. Many coolers come with some compound pre-applied, and feel free to use that if you like. It's usually fine, and it's easier than cleaning it off to apply something different. But if you do want something fresh, that's where
This bad boy.
On a plate that stick up through the motherboard, which means that your first order of business is to remove these plastic clip adapters that come standard on AMD boards. Make sure you keep those, by the way, because some coolers do require them, and losing them is pretty bad for resale value. Then your mounting bars go on and get screwed down in the same way. Now because AMD's cooler holes are asymmetrical, there are 2 sets of mounting bars, one long and one short. The short bars are what most people will use, as these are installed laterally so the cooler can exhaust air towards the rear of the case. Once
that's something different. But if you do
Sorry, I
want
keep
something fresh,
stopping
that's
it.
where rubbing alcohol and coffee filters come in. Wet the bottom of the coffee filter with alcohol, then rub away the thermal compound from the cooler in a circular mounting.
Sorry if you bother that I keep
First
reading
order
on
of
it. It's
business
just gonna,
is to remove
gonna
these
get a
plastic
little bit
clip
more
adapters
bothered
that
because
come
this is not
standard
gonna
on
stop.
AMD boards. Make sure you keep those, by the way, because some coolers do require
Not
them,
gonna
and
stop.
losing them is pretty bad for resale value. Then your mounting bars go on and get screwed down in the same way. Now because AMD's cooler holes are asymmetrical, there are 2 sets of mounting bars, one long and one short. The short bars are what most sets of mounting bars, one long and one short. The short bars are what most people would use, as these are installed laterally so the cooler can exhaust air towards the rear of the case. As these are installed laterally so the cooler can exhaust air towards the rear of the case. Once it's screwed into place, you're ready to go.
Intel's LGA 2011 and 2066 sockets are a little more straightforward. Simply screw in the 4 nuts, slot the mounting bars over them in the
Nuts.
orientation you prefer, and tighten them down with reverse thumb screws, similar to LGA 115X or LGA 1200. Finally, Threadripper and Epic sockets are simpler still. The cooler just bolts down straight onto the socket's under tension mechanism. Because of the socket design, the cooler can only go on one way, so make sure to align it properly. One side is spaced narrow, and the other side spaced wide. But that mechanism is so simple that we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need thermal compound first. Many coolers come with some compound pre-applied, and feel free to use that if you like. It's usually fine, and it's easier than cleaning it off to apply something different. But if you do want something fresh, that's where rubbing alcohol and coffee filters come in. Wet the bottom of the coffee filter with alcohol, then rub away the thermal compound from the cooler in a circular pattern until most of it is wiped away. Then go over it one more time with some fresh alcohol on a clean part of the filter.
Yeah,
To
mine
make
does
sure
have
any
some
finger
on it.
grease and dust is removed, you should repeat the last step of the CPU itself too. With the surfaces clean, you can grab your thermal compound. Most of the time it'll be in a syringe like this. So twist off the cap, then hold it at an angle against the CPU like so, making sure it's flat and perpendicular to your work surface. Perpendicular. I think I should just leave that at that. Slowly squeeze the plunger until the thermal compound flows. The amount you want and where to put it varies by CPU.
Okay, so there's 2
Intel consumer
different
CPUs
type
need
of
about as much as a
brackets.
grain of brown rice. From there, LGA 2011 and 2066 and AMD's AM4 processors get about a pea-sized block, and it's up to you if you want to just plop it down in the middle, or go for the line, or the X method. It really doesn't matter that much at the end of the day. For large CPUs,
Okay, there's two separate types of brackets. Do I use both of them, or is this just like up to my? This is just whichever one I like better. Well, it's not this one. It doesn't fit. That one fits. What the fuck? I got a little hard all of a sudden. I'm straight up on my own. Nobody's watching. It's expecting a little bit of help.
like so, making sure it's flat, just like this.
There you go.
Intel's LGA 20
Plus a back is lateral. Screw down post consumer. Agile and very easy to displace. Also a fancy.
Line it up and twist it counterclockwise until you feel a little click, then start turning it clockwise to tighten it. It only needs to be snug enough that the SSD no longer moves when you let go. Now you can put your motherboard heatsink back on, if applicable. Now there are other ways to install an M.2 SSD, including on a PCI Express card or Asus DIMM.2 interface.
What the
And these
fuck
are
are they
conceptually similar
saying?
to connecting directly to the motherboard, with the exception of how they slot in. DIMM.2 installation is identical to standard RAM modules. Open the tab, line up the key notches with the slot, then align yourself with the vertical posts, push down, and click into place. The PCI Express card is the same as any other expansion card, and we'll take care of that later.
For now, it's time to move on to your cooler. If you've got an all-in-one liquid cooler, this step will be just installing the appropriate bracket. But if you have an air cooler or a CPU block for a custom loop, both of these will be installed now. Most coolers use similar mounting mechanisms in theory, but often the actual install will be pretty different. For air coolers, Noctua's SecuFirm system is by far one of the easiest for consumer processors. No matter what socket, it consists of two pieces of metal with screw-down posts on the top side that screw into a backplate. There are spacers fitted to make sure the vertical alignment with the socket is just right for optimal mounting pressure, and the cooler itself screws down into these screw posts right here for a secure connection. Let's see what that looks like in practice. On Intel consumer systems, Noctua provides a backplate since that socket actually lacks one out of the box. So instead of screws going down into it, the backplate has posts that stick up through 4 holes in the motherboard, along with a little notch that allows it to clear the retention bolt on the lower side of the socket. Spacers are
That's what
added
that
per the
was.
instruction manual, double check the color, and then the appropriate bars are put on top. Now because Intel's cooler dimensions are symmetrical, that means they can go in either orientation depending on how you want your air to flow in your case. In most situations, you want your cooler to blow air towards the rear of the chassis, so you would install these bars laterally, then screw them down with these reverse thumb screws. On AMD, because a backplate is included, the spacers simply fit over the parts of the backplate that stick up through the motherboard,
Okay.
which means that your first order of business is to remove these plastic clip adapters that
That's what
are
we have.
standard on AMD boards. Make sure you keep those, by the way, because some coolers do require them, and losing them is pretty bad for resale value.
Okay.
Then your mounting bars go on and get screwed down in the same way.
Whoa.
Now because AMD, then
That's
your
quick.
mounting bars go on and get
See, I don't have any mounting bars that look like that. What they're showing. Whoa. Whoa. Each page of the instructions, they get more and more complex. Holy fuck. This is origami? Fuck am I looking at? They have two brackets facing outward. Who cares? This looks like it goes over this. There's no possible way that this is going on here. There's absolutely no way. What? He's slow. He's too slow. He's too slow. But that's not enough to help, right? No, it's not nearly enough to help. Just act like it goes on the back. I'm so fucking scared to touch anything. If I drop this, oh my god. Back in here? No fucking clue. No fucking clue. I'm so scared moving this around. Just checking periodically to see if anybody's watching. Oh! Lord have mercy. Excuse me. Does fucking move. Oh shit, okay. Let's just watch there. Let's just watch it through.
In the same way. Now, because AMD's cooler holes are asymmetrical, there are two sets of mounting bars, one long and one short.
Nope, don't have
Short
that.
bars are what most people would use, as these are installed laterally so the cooler can exhaust air towards the rear of the case.
Fucking
Device, you're ready to go.
Intel's LGA 2011 and 2066 sockets are a little more straightforward. Simply screw in the 4 nuts, slot the mounting bars over them in the orientation you prefer, and tighten them down with reverse thumb screws, similar to LGA 115X or LGA 1200. Finally, Threadripper and Epic sockets are simpler still. The cooler just bolts down straight onto the socket's upper retention mechanism. Because of the socket design, the cooler can only go on one way, so make sure to align it properly. One side is spaced narrow, and the other side spaced wide. But that mechanism is so simple that we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need thermal compound first. Many coolers come with some compound pre-applied, and feel free to use that if you like. It's usually fine, and it's easier than cleaning it off to apply something different. But if you do want something fresh, that's where rubbing alcohol and coffee filters come in. Wet the bottom of the coffee filter with alcohol, then rub away the thermal compound from the cooler in a circular pattern until most of it is wiped away. Then go over it one more time with some fresh alcohol on a clean part of the filter. To make sure any finger grease and dust is removed, you should repeat the last step with the CPU itself too. When the surface is clean, you can grab your thermal compound. Most of the time it'll be in a syringe like this. So twist off the cap, then hold it at an angle against the CPU like so, making sure it's flat and perpendicular to your work surface. Perpendicular. I think we should just leave it at that. Slowly squeeze the plunger until the thermal compound flows. The amount you want and where to put it varies by CPU. Intel consumer CPUs need about as much as a cooked grain of brown rice. From there, LGA 2011 and 2066 and AMD's AM4 processors get about a pea-sized block, and it's up to you if you want to just plop it down in the middle, or go for the line, or the X method. It really doesn't matter that much at the end of the day. For large CPUs like Threadripper, Epic, and Xeon Platinum, however, you're going to need a lot more. You can go with 2 pea-sized blobs and hope for the best, but the recommended pattern looks like a 5 on the dot, with a series of small dots like so. In theory, this gives the best possible coverage, but Gamers Nexus testing in 2017 showed that a large X pattern can also work very consistently here. The main takeaway is just to make sure you use enough to completely cover the cooler's integrated heat spreader, or IHS. That's the metal part on top of the CPU with its name lasered onto it. Once you're satisfied with the amount of thermal paste you've used, you can press the tip flat against the CPU to break the surface tension of the paste so it doesn't come up off the CPU when you lift the syringe away. Don't forget to recap it.
Of course, if you're using a thermal pad, don't just plop it down on there. Make sure you buy one that's sized for the CPU you want to use it with. You might need to use multiples for a big rectangular beast like Threadripper. Now with the thermal compound sorted, just bolt down your cooler. For Noctua air coolers, you'll first want to unclip the fan from the cooler like so in order to access the screws. And it's as simple as aligning the heatsink with the screw posts and tightening it down. It's best to tighten one side a little, then the other a little more, and keep going back and forth until you can't go any further. This way, pressure is being applied evenly, helping spread your thermal compound around. For coolers that have 4 screws, like the custom loop CPU blocks and air coolers like the Hyper 212, you'll first want to make sure there's no sticker on the cold plate, and then you'll want to screw them in an X pattern. It helps to get all of them started partway first, and start tightening them down a bit at a time by alternating to the opposite corner until it's tightened down all the way. If you're using an air cooler, now's as good of a time as any to attach the air part. Depending on the configuration, you might have 1 fan, 2 fans, or 0 fans if you're one of those passive types. If you lock in, just ignore the spin. You can also ignore it if your fan is integrated into the cooler, like with a stock one. Fans are directional, and we'll talk more about this later in the case fan section, but here is all that you need to know for now. Some fans have markers that show the direction the air will flow from them, but if you're unsure, the side with the sticker part that doesn't move usually indicates that's the side the air will come out of. When installing the fan into a cooler, it's tidiest to have the fan's power cable coming out towards the motherboard. So take that into account while you're fan diagonally it back into place. Tower coolers like the NHD15 and NHU12 come with wire clips that hook into the fan's mounting holes in order to then clip it to the cooler itself. It can be a little tricky, but it's basically just a matter of placing the fan in the desired orientation and stretching those wires over the grooves and the heatsink. It'll clip into place and you're good to go. Repeat as desired if your cooler takes more than 1 fan, but be careful about the orientation, and especially note any clearance issues with nearby motherboard heatsinks or memory. You may need to either mount the fan a bit higher than you otherwise would, or just scrap it entirely. It's still fine, 1 fan will do it.
Once the fans are in, look for the 4-pin header labeled CPU fan on your motherboard, or similar. This is almost always right next to the CPU socket, and for ASUS motherboards, it tends to be on the top edge as seen here. Line up the tabs on the cable with the one on the motherboard, and press it into position. Either a 3-pin or a 4-pin fan can function perfectly plugged into a connector like this. And as we said previously, all the 4th pin does is add a separate pin for a finer fan speed control via PWM. So 4 pins are ideal, but not necessary. And in the case of liquid coolers, there might actually only be 1 wire to sense the RPM of the pump, because it will draw power from a separate Molex or SATA connector. So that RPM sense wire is just to ensure that in the event your pump fails, your motherboard can either set off an alarm or initiate a safe shutdown. Now, if your cooler has 2 fans, you're going to want to check for a CPU opt or tube header. If there isn't one, the cooler will often include a Y splitter that lets you connect both fans to a single header. Usually it is no problem to have 2 fans on 1 header, but don't go overboard because there are current limits to those connectors. With that done, we're finished with our motherboard for now. But now is also an excellent time to power on our system and make sure that everything's working while it's easy to access.
Well, I didn't touch on what I needed to do whatsoever. Just we would go through. You're straight up figuring this out on
In a safe shutdown.
our own. Just say,
Now,
what
if
up,
your cooler has
Danny?
2 fans, you're going to want to check for a CPU opt or
I'm stuck right now trying to figure out how to put on this cooler. Oh, thank God, Matt. Thank God. Dog, this is as far as I've gotten. I'm trying to figure out how the fuck, like, these brackets are supposed to go on. This one obviously doesn't go on the front because it doesn't fit, but I'm trying to figure out where, okay, first off, I guess I don't have any rubbing alcohol or paper coffee filters, so should I just keep this thermal paste that came on it, or should I scrape it off and put on the new thermal paste? Screw in the back. Okay, but here's the back. Look. So you can see this falls off the back. Keep the thermal paste on. Okay. But you see this comes off the back right here, and that's what the screws around the CPU. You see these 4 screws. So since that's already there, for the CPU motherboard. I have no idea what that fucking means. So do I not have to use this since that's already on the back? So right now I'm just trying to figure out how to put these spacers on, so I can, because I'm assuming this needs to go down like this, right? But how the fuck does that fit? The screws don't line up. Yeah, I already have the CPU on the motherboard. Already got it on. No. When I say CPU on the motherboard, I mean, it might not even be the CPU. I'm talking about this Ryzen. I just set the pins down and locked it into place. I haven't put anything on there yet. And I have the RAM cards in and the SSD, but that's about as far as I've gotten. That is about as far as I have gotten. I'm just going along with this guy. This is the power spotless. What do you mean don't do the first one? So do I need to take this Ryzen CPU back out, and why can't I just put the thermal paste straight onto it? Okay, I'm good. Just go ahead and open this bad boy up, just get out the plastic. Matt, why are you trolling me? Oh my gosh, dude. Every time I unbox one of these, it's fucking dramatic as fuck. What will break? What will break? The manuals have been absolute ass, too. None of these manuals have explained jack shit to me. Half of them are in Korean. As long as the thermal paste is on the CPU fan, heat sink, you're good. If not, then you apply it yourself manually. Okay, so the thermal paste that already came on this, I'm good for. It's all good. Because I'm assuming this goes straight down onto this, right? No, I don't speak Korean. Just it. We good. Actually, I don't know. I don't know one word of Korean. I'm not putting it on. Obviously, I don't put it on. There's no brackets to put it down with. So that brings me back to this and this. What the fuck? Because in the video, what cooler do I have? It is the Kraken 240. Next. NZXT. I'm assuming this meant to be pronounced next. 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 These tell me nothing. 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 Because, like, I have all these separators and dividers. Like, I was trying to fit this earlier, and it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It won't go in. See, I'm using my phone to live stream. That's the issue. That's the issue. That's the issue. I wish I had another phone that I could just use. Oh, hold on. Kat might have left her work phone here. If that's the case, it's about to fall. I don't know where it is. Shit. You know what? I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna Google it. Should I just live stream off the laptop? No, I'm just gonna Google it. You're a goober.
Coolers, and it's kind of our thing to show you guys how to install and how to set up these new coolers. So let's show you in this video. What I recommend is putting the back plate on a flat surface if the motherboard's out of your case, and lowering the motherboard onto the back plate just to make it easier to align. You'll then want to locate all.
What CPU do I have? The CPU is this little square, right? This little square right here. And that CPU. Y'all just throwing letters at me. It's an AMD Ryzen. It's an AMD Ryzen, not an Intel. AM4 installation. Okay, right here. Sweet.
The installation steps for AM4 and AM5 installation. This is the mounting hardware that is required for the installation. A couple more things that go into the installation. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to change the bracket. So locate this bracket. Now what I want you to do is put a little bit of pressure
pressure on the outside of the bracket, rotate, twist, and pull the bracket away. Then reverse that process to install the A and B bracket. So lower it on and then rotate it and feel it click into place. Very straightforward. Now you want to remove the stock mounting hardware on your AIM4 or AIM5 motherboard. So this is the same for both. And here's where the difference happens. You'll notice that we have these standoffs here. This is for AIM4 and AIM5. And if we take a bit of a closer look, you'll see that whatever is the label facing up is the correct orientation. So this is AIM4 and this one is for AIM5. Because we've got an AIM5 board, we'll have the AIM5 side facing up. Locate 4 of these standoffs. The side with the larger thread is the thread that goes into the motherboard. So you want to put those through the standoffs. You'll want to finger tighten those into your motherboard. There is no tool to fasten these, so just finger tighten them as much as you can. Don't over tighten them, it will make it hard to
Finger
move
tighten the
later
fuck
if you
out of
get rid
them.
And once you're done with that, we should be on to mounting the cooler. Now, this is a common installation
Whoa, buddy.
as well.
Whoa, buddy. Going too fast for me.
You need to tack slow. And not very fast like that.
Okay. Look at us go. Look at us go. Oh my God. I'm gonna get rock hard if this thing works when I try to turn it on. Video's gonna get removed from YouTube so fast. You might as well tell me what motherboard you have too. I have the Gigabyte gaming motherboard, AMD socket AM4. I got it on the AM4 side.
I'm not completely stupid.
Sorry the audio is so dog shit. I have the iPhone 10 and I'm 4 feet away from it. Okay, so now that we got that down, what the fuck we doing?
The same thing here, we're showing the Intel board, but this is the same for AIM4 and AIM5. With the radiator being on the side location, you'll then want to locate 8 of
Oh,
the
he's just going ahead and installing this bitch.
You're going to fasten up all of the fans, put it
Whoa.
in the fan screw through the fan, aligning your radiator.
Should I go ahead and put the motherboard inside the tower? See, he has his bad thing. He has his in there. But in the other video, they say keep it out because we need to try to turn it on first. I said, he has his in his tower, his motherboard, like already installed in there, and that he's putting the cooler in. But on the other video, it said that I should keep it out and try to power it up before I put it in the case to see if it works. So should I go ahead and put this on right here and turn it on and see if it works? Or should I go ahead and put it in the case? Because it wouldn't suck ass if I have it in the case and everything's set up and if it doesn't turn on. Just put it in the case. Oh shit, that's intimidating. Working in the case is easier? Okie dokie. Okie doke. Okie doke. Wait. Make sure the cooler fits and stuff. Okay. It's okay, Matt.
On your case itself, and as mentioned in the other installation guides, if you're new here, welcome. You'll want to finger tighten all of these screws up one by one, and I recommend doing 2 screws.
Bracket
so
is
the
installed.
radiator aligns itself correctly. Once you get all those in and aligned, get yourself some more screws and screwdriver and twist it all up so we can be ready to move on to mounting the core on top of the CPU itself. Once we're done with that, grab the additional cables, both the RGB and the PWM power. Both of these need to be plugged in, don't forget that. And this is going to make your life a lot easier when we get around to the wiring. Now locate
When you say back bracket, you mean this part right here, right?
Onto the standoff that we installed onto the motherboard in the previous step, and then you'll want to get one of them, just really tighten it up to begin with. Do every single corner, just like so. And once you've got at least two in, you'll want to then start fastening them up in a diagonal pattern. You can use a screwdriver or you can use fingers. I recommend using the screwdriver, but just don't over time and stuff. You won't have any problems. Next up, you'll want to locate this bundle of cables.
How the fuck does that fit? This doesn't fit for me. Oh, yes it does. I'm just dumb. And when it comes down to it, not a lot going on. All right, let's. These fans over here. Thermal paste. What, Danny? What? Before I put the motherboard in, another thing. Make sure you have motherboard spaces in the PC case. That's what we're about to find out right now. How the fuck do I even take this case off? God, Matt, you chose a badass case. This thing is sick. Screws that have screw holes on top, motherboard, hover over. It doesn't look like it comes off from this side. I mean, isn't this supposed to come off? There should be screws on top, have the motherboard hover over where you want to put it, then one's in the motherboard. I'm just so scared to fuck with anything. There are screws in the back, so these I just take all these screws out. God damn, that one's on tight. Sheesh. So I just unscrew all of these bad boys. Oh! Okay, there's that. How do I get this? How do I get this? So there goes the back plate. But how do I get this top part off? Get that case naked. So I took the back panel off, but how do I take this glass screen off? I really don't. My hands get so fucking sweaty. I don't want to touch. Well, I guess it has a screen protector on right now. Oh! Oh shit! It moved. Just slides right up. Sucker! Ooh. Alright. Let's get my guts. Oh, there goes up. And okay, this fell off too. Okay. Stuff's just falling off now. Okay. Okay, so there's two wires in here. Oh, there's a box in here. Come on out. Shoot, my hand's too big for this. Whoa! Okay, this case came off too. All right. Okay. Okay. It is going to be a comedy watching me put this shit back together. Kat's going to walk in and she's going to try to help. And y'all are going to watch this break up on screen because of this. Back panels for all my wiring. Oh, fuck. I forgot about the cable management. Woo! I'm going to break something. It's going to get, ooh, okay. Let's go ahead and first order of business. Let's get this off. Let's get this off. Okay, so this little box that came with it. Told me to put it in the case, and once I took the screws off, everything else just fell apart. What is this thing? Oh my god! Look at the amount of tiny screws that came in this thing. Those are almost baby screws, zip ties. What the fuck? I mean, I took off 3 screws. I took off these 3 screws, and all this shit just came off. So these 3 screws. Okay, yeah, I'll turn it back on its side. Oh my god, dude, there's so many cables in here. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 cables. And this is the beginning. I'll move the camera. Just lay this back down. Okay. So this is the front. This is the current setup right here. And we are about to hook it up. And Nix is dead over there. What you looking at, huh? What you looking at? What you looking at? Saints. Oh, fuck. Saints under there. Okay, but let's get this set up. Okay. Is that better? That's a little better. Yeah, okay, so this is the tempered glass side. Get a GoPro strap strapped to my forehead. I don't have one of those. that would be the way to do it, though. Okay, so I'm hovering motherboard over the case. Should it go in this way or this way? Horizontal or perpendicular? These are wrong. Okay. Wrong way. CPU side up, so this way. Okay, I see what you mean. It fits. Now we're cooking. Okay, so what screws do I use to screw this shit in now? Incorrect buzzer noises. Get out of here. So do I use these? Yeah, they're screw holes. So do I use this screw now? Hold on, let me pull up the string so I can see what I'm showing you. So they're these screws. Are these the ones that go in, you think? I'm pretty sure these came with my cooler though. There's no more screws that came with it. I'm just trying to find. Oh, but it's these screws that came with it. Yeah. Okay. So it is these then. Okay, and the. Gotcha. Oh my god, there's like 4 different types of screws in this shit. What in the world? Where's the case manual? That is a great question. Okay. Let me find the case. Let me find the case manual. Because I agree. That would be useful. Maybe it's in the box downstairs. Alright, so it wasn't in the box that it came with. And this is the first time that I've taken it apart. So I guess it didn't come with, oh that's cool. I guess it didn't come with the manual. What the fuck? This manual's not in there. Damn. So should I use... Dude, there's so many. I 100% need that manual, but it's not in there. It didn't come with any. There's literally no manual in here. Oh wait, is this? I think this might be the. Haha! Found it. I was sitting on it. Okay. Whoa. There's a lot of shit going on right here. A lot of shit going on. Okay. Removing chassis panel. I already did that. Okay. Got the motherboard in place. We're already past step 3. Okay. number 4. Okay, so this is the screws I'm supposed to use. Sweet. Damn, these things are tiny. Itty bitty. Itty bitty. Itty bitty, just like my pee-pee. What's the YouTube guy called, Matt? I'll have it play in the background for sure. Dude, the magnetic tip on a screwdriver is for sure the way to go for this. Cannot imagine doing this without it. Oh my god, this thing's gonna be so badass. Magnum Gear Neo Cube 2 Attack of the Clone. The fuck is that? No way, that's a computer god. Let's look it up though. Magnum.
Hey Seekers, I'm Nick. I know you're all
What did he just call me?
comments on your mechanical keyboards. I can hear them from here. They're clicking and clacking away. This is a copy of the Leon Lee 011 series. Well, put it this way. Leon Lee didn't invent the fish tank, and they sure as heck didn't invent a glass box. What we're doing today is taking a look at the Magnum Gear Neo Cube 2 Infinity Mirror. Claire wrecked the gag. You had your turn to speak. Without further ado, let's take a look at the Neo Cube 2.
Do it again. Do it again.
Right, let's start with panel removal. There's 2 thumb screws on the rear, much like the original 011. Basically, unscrew the 2 thumb screws, pop off the top panel, and away you go. Bob's your uncle. Side panel, exactly like the original 011 as well.
Bob's your uncle?
Slide it up from the bottom. Not going to be removing the front glass panel, although it is the same, you just lift it up, but I'm not doing it because I don't want to get any fingerprints on that infinity mirror. To remove the rear panel, you need to remove this top panel as well. Another single captive thumb screw, slide that back, and then you just push that up from the bottom, and the back panel comes off. The last bit of
Boom.
panel to
CPU's in
remove
place.
is
Oh, not
this
CPU,
isolat
motherboard.
back. It's got 2 screws. Wiggle it a little bit, just a little bit to get it out. For power supply support, you're looking at a maximum length of around 275 millimeters. There's lots of room here to make the power supply fit, but just remember, you will need to take this clearance into account too, where you've got other cables running up this cable raceway. Cable management is handled by this cable channel at the back here. There's 4 Velcro straps that tie everything down, as well as a couple other cable tie downs on the back of the motherboard tray. There's 2 here, there's a couple around here, and there's also these rubber grommets where you can jam all your cables through. There's also some pass-throughs along here, so you can jam all of your stuff through as well. Storage options are handled a little bit differently here. So you've got these 2 3.5-inch sleds here. Well, they're not really sleds, but they're basically brackets that allow you to mount 2 spinning rush drives. And then you can mount another 3 2.5-inch drives, which means you can have 5 drives on this single bracket in total. That'll make one heck of a heavy bracket. For motherboard support, we can do ITX up to ATX boards. So, as you can see here, this is the board we'll probably be using for the build. Not sure yet, haven't decided at this point in filming, but yeah, that's basically all you need to know about motherboard
Okay, so
support.
basically when I put the cooler in,
This isn't the whole story with motherboard support, because on the back
the
of
radiator
NQ2,
is gonna go
you
somewhere up
actually
top,
run another,
and this goes right,
which means
like
you
right
can
here.
do a dual system
Right.
setup in this. So if you're doing streaming or
Right.
you want to do some type of encoding or
Right?
basically a second gaming PC, if that's something you really wanted to do, you could actually do that.
How's it
Now you
supposed
will
to-
need one of those Fantex power supplies, the one like the Revolt X that allow you to power 2 systems off one power supply. You've got these slot covers here if you want to install an expansion card. However, remember, this is a low profile bracket, so you won't be able to use full height cards in the back here. In terms of air cooler height support, you're looking at about 148 millimeters. As you can see on the back of the case here, there's no
Okay, place your
120
wires, dude.
and that, which
The
actually
cable
gives you an
management's gonna be
indication of
the
how
worst, the
you
hardest
might
part
use
for
this.
me.
This isn't even the full width of a 120 mil fan. Full fan and radiator support at the bottom of
I mean,
the case.
look
you've
at-
got up to a 360 millimeter.
Look at what's going on under
3 100
my desk.
fans,
I mean,
as well as
Tony, that cable management is awesome.
140 mil fans at the bottom
And I know
as
you're
well.
lying.
At the top of the case, we can do up to a 360 mil fan up there, 3 120 mil fans. We can do also a 280 mil radiator if that's something you wanted to do as well, or 2 140 mil fans up there as well. On the side for radiator support, you're also looking up to a 360 mil rad at the back, as well as 3 120 mil fans maxes, 50 mils of clearance between the back side of this and the side panel, which means you can actually put a radiator on the other side.
I'll
of
scream.
the
Don't
device
you worry,
on
Danny.
this
I'll
side
scream.
or vice versa. GPU support, you're looking up to 410 mil of clearance. This is the Asus ROG Strix RTX 3080 Gundam Edition. And this is the card we typically use for these type of tests, and you can see there's plenty of room. Because there's no cross bracing on the back slots, you can put any vertical GPU bracket in, and you can mount your GPU vertically as well with no issues whatsoever. Depending on the height that you put your bracket in as well, you should be able to put fans underneath the GPU as well. There's a single removable dust filter on the bottom of the case. Just slide that out, and you can see that this is nothing too special.
Really? There's a
Just
dust filter?
Sorry to disappoint. We've got our USB 3.2
Yeah, buddy.
connector. We've got front
Land
panel
in the
audio.
right spot.
We've got SATA power for the built-in
It
RGB
does slide
control,
off,
because
that's
this
cool.
does have built-in RGB for that infinite mirror front, if that's the SKU you choose, as well as a USB Type-C front panel cable. Because this has a built-in RGB controller, you've got expansion, so you can actually use 2 different types of RGB. You can use this connector here, which we typically find on Fantex things, as well as 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB. As well as that, there is motherboard pass-through, so you can plug this into your board and let your motherboard control everything. And there's all these standard cables for all your lights and switches to let you know your system's online. However, these do have labels recommending which cables to use if you're going for a dual system. So for the front panel I/O, we've got a power button, a reset button, which actually doubles as a hard disk activity light for the second system, and a power button, as well as the RGB control here, a combined headphone and microphone jack, a single USB Type-C port, and 2 USB Type-A ports. Hello friends, this is an infinity mirror, similar to what we see on the Fantex coolers, and basically it's for aesthetic purposes only. And this is another thing that makes this different from the O11 as well. It is slightly transparent, so you will be able to see your system through this panel if you're looking closely. But I like aesthetic things like this, and I've said this as well with the Fantex mirror stuff in the past, that it does look very, very cool. However, we don't know yet how to build the system. Lastly, there's a box full of accessories, pretty standard stuff here, guys. Screws, cable ties, everything you need to build a new system. That's basically everything you need to know about the Magnum Gear Neo Cube 2 Infinity Mirror Edition. So let's get building. And as a bit of a bonus, because everyone always asks me to do this when I wear this t-shirt, this is what's in the pocket, guys.
Oh, I love
Something
that
that I would
shirt.
do in person. See? That's it. That's all it is.
Alright. Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh shit, they put it at like 4 times speed. lost you. Sorry.
Travel management is handled by this cable channel at the back here. There's 4 Velcro
Sorry.
straps that tie everything down, as well as a couple other cables. Then any bracket. Backside of the special, it's just a dust filter, guys. Sorry to disappoint. We've got our USB 3.2 front panel connector. We've got.
Sorry, tossed you. This is the strips he's talking about for the back connector. Let's go ahead and pop those fuckers off. Whoa, 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 he's going so fast. Pause. What the fuck is a standoff? This is what we have not used yet. We still have this, whatever the fuck this is, whatever that is, and these fans. That's what we got chilling. Just taking all this shit off what he does in the video. This. Alright, so I just took this off the back. The screws with the screw holes onto. I mean, these guys right here. These screws with the. Has a screw and a screw hole. What do these go to? Oh, I put this on before the motherboard screws in? Okay, I get what you're saying. No, I have not done that. I'm sure this is not gonna be the last time that I'm gonna have to take this apart to fix something. So let's get back into it. I'm gonna put everything in this bitch. Try to power it on, and it's gonna fart. And I'm going to take it apart, take everything apart, and figure out why the fuck this computer farted. And then put it back together. I even missed a hole right there. Look at fucking. Thank you, chat. Get out of there. Damn. God, I wish I had little raccoon hands. Make this a little easier. God, my tips, okay. Screw these bad boys in. Some of these won't screw in. If I don't what? I'm gonna watch the video. These already have. I think this already has these guys built in. See, look. He already has these things built into it. So I think. Oh, meant to be watched before I start building, huh? But I think I'm good. I think I already had these screws in this. Right? So I think I can just put the motherboard back on and screw it back down, right? Since the case already has the standoff screws. Nobody's answering, so I think I'm good. I wish I could play music without getting fucking copyrighted. Have to mute the entire section. Why is it doing this? Here we go. I actually missed a bunch of holes. Just realized that. Good God, I missed like 4 holes. Nothing. I took the motherboard back off and it had the standoffs already built into the case, so I'm good. But I did realize that I missed like 5 screw holes that I didn't see, so filling in the blanks. I did watch the video. I did watch the video you sent me 2 days ago. It's just, there's so many acronyms that they throw at me. I've watched it a couple of times, actually. Didn't watch this one, though, that you just sent. I don't remember you sending me this video 2 days ago. Boom. Okay. All 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All scoot in. All scoot in, yeah. So you put some motherboard in. It just whips out the power supply, so I guess let's unbox that. This would be so much easier if I had. Oh, you don't want to know how much it was. I also did not feel comfortable saying that on the internet because there's a good chance that Catherine might watch this. And I definitely did not tell her the right price. Okay, so here's the 8-dick power supply. Okay. What the fuck? This is all the cables? Oh my god. Okay, let's get this back out of the way. There's some screws flying around. Let's get these back packaged up. Some small monthly sum for the next year and a half. Finance the fuck out of everything you see in this video. So, yeah, to make it worth it, why don't you, on the channel, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. If you like what you see. Also, feel sorry that I'm going to be in debt for the next year and a half. Help me out. Gotta get that down. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe if you like the channel. Like and subscribe while you're here. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Okay. God damn. The fuck it. Okay. Okay. Fucking wire time is right. Okay, let's go back. I mean, in that video, everything's already. So he's on the back side when he plugs this thing in. Bring it all around here. Okay. So he puts this thing in, or this is facing this way, but it's upside down. So it does go in this way when the MSI is upside down. That's dumb. That's real stupid. That's really dumb. So it just slides in like this. Oh, just like that, huh? Just like that. Okay. I'm gonna after I get this built, the actual hardest part is gonna be rearranging all of this to accommodate for it. Also got, this is the camera I've been using. This fucking PS5 camera. You can ignore the crown on top, but that's the camera I've been using. An upgrade. Faux shizzle. You're gonna see my ugly mug a couple of times while I screw this bitch back on. There we go. There we go. Oh, they usually go in flat cases. Gotcha. I don't know how this one's not considered flat, but. Okay, so I'm gonna guess. Case that you just found the screws that case came with. I'm assuming it's these longer screws that he uses. You think it's like these kind of screws that go into it? With the, God, I want to focus. With the thread, it's like smooth then threaded. I think that's the, surely right. Let's see. Only one way to find out. What do I do with my screwy? Oh, almost just got a leg cramp. Oh my God, that was so close. Y'all would have heard bloody murder if I got a leg cramp on stream. I don't know if these are the right one. I don't think they are. I don't think they are. It didn't come with any screws. So the power supply didn't come with any screws, but the case came with all those fucking screws right there. So do you think this uses the screws from the case? So which fucking one? Okay, so then I guess it is. Surely don't use these tiny screws. I mean, that would make sense that all screws from the case get used, but why is this fitting so weird? Yeah, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. Maybe try small screws. So these tiny screws are the screws I use to screw in the motherboard. You think they're the same screws I use to screw in the power supply? Because the bigger ones do not feel right. Oh, this feels much better. That's much better. Even if you're not supposed to use these screws, I'm going to use these screws. Oh, that's so satisfying. It can push to the front of the case. Do I have a USB drive? Because if you don't, won't no PC usage. Like a thumb drive? Are you talking about a thumb drive? I don't know if I have one. I might have one laying around the house somewhere. If not, I can. Oh, so if I have this sitting, this Windows isn't. I mean, there's a Walgreens right down the street. I can run there and get a USB real quick. Damn, Mac, should have told me to buy a USB drive off Amazon with it. I can build this though and like get it working before I get a thumb drive, right though. So like I'm gonna build this and get it working, then I go get a thumb drive real quick. I thought I'm positive I have one around here somewhere. But I mean, honestly, I'd rather just go buy and not just get one from Walgreens. It's right. It's literally going to take me less than 10 minutes to go get one. I'm going to leave the stream running. Okay, so this bad boy's all screwed in now. Okay. So what should I do next? The bios. The fan comes next. Okay, when you say fan, do you mean this big boy? Oh, the cooler. Okay, so I'll put this in then. Okay, I guess I need to turn this thing around. Big boy's the GPU, got it. I didn't know what a graphics card is. Prior to this, I didn't even know what half of this shit was, dude. I was so scared when you weren't jumping on. I was like, okay, we're out here. Just gonna figure my way through this. But then you and Danny showed up at the same time. We came to say, chin. Okay, so how the fuck? I put the stream in the stream links. So this thing goes. So should I install this first or the fans first? As soon as this just fits right in here. Or do I put these fans in? Or do I put these fans in? I have so many fucking fans. Which fans? Nah, PS5's still gonna be used, Zach. Don't you worry. As long as Sony's still pumping out them AAA games, I'm still gonna be using it. Which fan though? I just showed you two different fans. This fan or this fan? The colorful fan or the black fan? Get the CPU cooler in first. When you say CPU... Okay, so these two black fans. These two black fans. Where the fuck do they go? These are the ones that came with. These are the ones that came with the cooler. Should I just mount the cooler straight on to the CPU first and then mount the radiator? Or do I do the fans first? Put the fans in the radiator. How the fuck do I put the fans in the radiator? I just, like that? I know they're screw holes, so I do put them in like this, but so do I put the, so obviously it's going to be facing up like this, right? So does this side go on top or does this side go on top? Because isn't air coming through this way? So the cage goes on the back, right? You said nope, Matt. So the cage goes on the back like this. Oh, the fans go down facing the CPU. Oh, okay, okay. So it's gonna be like this, and the fans go underneath like this, or does the cage go on top and it goes like this? Just say cage facing. Does cage face the radiator? Cage faces the radiator, so it goes like this. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. Okay, now I'm about to screw these bad boys in, just like the others. Oh no, dude, my thermal paste has gotten a little fucked up. Is that bad? I need to put the thing back on it. I am gonna put that back on. Where is it? Is it bad if the thermal paste is a little messed up like that? I'm putting this back on it so it doesn't mess up. Oh fuck, won't fit. Am I fucked if my thermal paste looks like this? I know the delays are off. Maybe a tiny dog hair. I can get that off with some tweezers though. It is a tiny dog hair, I think. You can see it right there in the middle. Don't risk it. So you think I should just clean the paste off and put some new one on, or just get the tiny dog hair off? Just clean it. Damn, I don't have any rubbing alcohol or anything. Is that okay? I don't have any. I might have some. Hold on. I'm pretty positive I don't have any rubbing alcohol. Yeah, I don't have any rubbing alcohol. Should I just go to Walgreens real quick and get the rubbing alcohol and the thumb drive? Or do you think I'm okay to just pick that dog hair off and it'd be good? Because, like, look at it. I guess you can see the dog hair right there in the middle. What do you think? Okay. I'm gonna leave the stream up. I'm gonna run to Best Buy. I mean, not Best Buy, Walgreens real quick. fuck, dude. I'll put my phone up here so it'll be charging. There we go. Make a clear walkway for the dogs to get loose and I'll fuck shit up. Come on, y'all come with me. Let's go. Let's go for a ride. Come on, let's go for a ride. Everybody just walk single file. Say, come on. Come on. Come on, buddy. Don't you step on a fucking thing. Oh, bring that shake right to me. Alright. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Less than 10 minutes. Come on, let's go for a ride.